Hello, everybody. Carlton Pearson, just a couple of seconds late. We're live each week, and it's pretty exciting to be live. We're not so regimented, and sometimes we start a little late, never too early, and we may go a little late, but we live in a day of realities when people are just facing what is and being authentic and candid and sort of getting back to the vulnerability of what sometimes the scripture refers to as the Garden of Eden, where Adam and Eve were naked, the scripture says, and felt no shame. When's the last time you were naked and felt no shame? This is what this is about, exposing and maybe expelling that part of you that you feel uncomfortable with, or the attitude toward that. Come Sunday was the movie, come Monday is the movement toward greater spirituality. And so each week we come here, we move the show from Thursday nights to Monday nights for obvious reasons. And I've been doing a lot of studying on the subject of the moon, from which the name Monday comes, like Sunday and Monday and Tuesday all the way through Saturn Day. Saturn. All the names of the weeks and months in our English calendar are actually names of Greek gods or goddesses. There's a lot of myth and mysticism in the human culture. There's a lot of folklore. There's a lot of traditions, things that have been traded down. So we're just studying some of those traded down or those traditions and see what remains relevant, what remains relative to who we are and where we are today, and doing some deep excavating and interrogating and investigating of who we are, what we believe, why we believe it, how those beliefs add to or subtract from the quality of our lives. Later on tonight, I'm going to talk more about this expanded way of thinking, expanded consciousness, talk about terrestrial things, celestial things, about, again, the moon, which is the night light of the universe. Sun, and it actually gets us light from the sun. It's the sun reflecting back to us, but you don't see quite as clearly. We want to talk about the things that don't seem quite as clear, and you're not supposed to see as clearly at night as you do in the daytime. So don't freak out when you don't get all the details at night. We all go through the nighttime of the soul, or the dark night of the soul, some people would say. But remember, there's always a moon shining. There's always a little reflection. There's always a little hint that tomorrow the sun will be bright again. So today in America, and really around the world, everybody's sort of shocked with the situation in Helsinki with President Putin and President Trump. The comments that Trump, even people on Fox News Network are freaking out over some of the things Donald Trump said and the attitude toward America. Some people almost think it's tantamount to treason, some of the things he said, and it would be remiss of me not to make some brief comment as we talk about the current events, because this is Monday where the rubber meets the road. The real grind of living. I call life a sexually transmitted disease or dis-ease. There's a lot of tension and anxiety and stress and stretch in being human, and being a human being and being human as a human being. We're human beings, not just human doings. So we need to study more about our beings, and we were going to do that throughout this whole process of the Come Monday ideology or the Come Monday concept. We're real tense. It's interesting that the president tweeted this morning, our relationship with Russia has never been worse, thanks to many years of U.S. foolishness and stupidity, and now the rigid witch hunt. He's tying his being possibly indicted or investigated. He is being investigated. He's protecting his image. He's protecting his brand. He's real concerned, and that's obvious to the whole world. If just a few of us knew it, that would be one thing, but the whole world is watching this spectacle. And so we're very prayerful and very dareful and very careful in our thinking and what energy we put out there to protect the integrity of this country, its past, present, and its future. But even Kilmeade on Fox, one of the biggest Trump networks, the only one that really supports him consistently, that's by far the most ridiculous tweet of late, Kilmeade said, and that is insulting to past administrations. He's acting like everything that's happened in the past, all past presidents, all of the candidates, everybody's wrong but him. We've never seen more arrogance and narcissism and self-centeredness or self-servingness, and he's speaking to his base. He says these things because his base, mostly evangelical Christians, strangely enough, really buy into that. Putin believed that Karl Marx said religion is the opiate of the people, and so did Vladimir Lenin. And now Vladimir Putin has bought into that, and they're looking at religion as the opiate. It deadens the senses and the sensitivity of the people, makes us less intelligent. So he looked in America and said, what group shall we go for to use as those who are most intoxicated, most have mind-altering drugs, and religion can be that for a lot of people. So that's why we're looking for a new spirituality or a new spiritual paradigm, a more progressive spirituality that leaves a lot of the dogma and even some of the doctrines that have been handed down to us over the centuries and over the millennia that don't make sense. You know, some people find truth in the Bible, but they never study the truth of the Bible. Where did it come from? Why do we believe it? It's so authentically inspired of God. I do believe it's inspired, but not so much of God as of man, about God, or men, no women, just men, males that discuss what should go in it as the canon. And I've done a lot of teaching on that, and I allude to it from time to time because most of my detractors use Scripture to refute what I'm saying, and yet I use that same Scripture, which I've studied all my life. I majored in biblical literature, English Bible. I minored in theology and historical studies. I'm a fourth-generation classical Pentecostal preacher. So I actually have the right to make an analysis of what I believe and why I believe it and how those beliefs add to or subtract from the quality of my life. And in doing that, and I get letters and texts and emails every day from thousands of people who say, thank you. You're letting me know I'm not crazy. I haven't lost my mind. I'm not the only person who thinks this way. Well, you aren't. There's a huge awakening taking place. And you're a part of that awakening. And now the alarm goes off. Some people wake up, but they just keep pushing the snooze button. And they go right back to sleep. And they wake up. They're alarmed. You hear them. You'll hear their comments. You'll see them. By the way, if you don't like what you're reading on the screen, just push to the right. Is it? Just a slash or whatever. You go to the right, and those comments and that conversation will disappear, and you won't be distracted if it is a distraction to you. But people are awakening, and they're alarmed because the bright light of truth is really frustrating to people who've been asleep a long time and who are enjoying the slumber. So there is an awakening taking place, and you are a part of it. We're all on our way to greater enlightenment, and we're going to meet each other there in consciousness. We've been adding music since we've been in this new studio. Live music every week, some exciting music, diverse music, interesting music from some of the most talented and creative musicians and singers and songwriters that I've ever encountered. And I've been in music all my life. And most of them is local talent right here in Tulsa that we haven't even been exposed to. The young lady who's going to sing for us tonight, her name is Sarah Maud, and I heard her the first time at All Souls Unitarian Church on a Sunday morning where I was speaking. And I was interested to find out she was doing jazz music, and she's going to do some tonight. But when I learned that she's from a classical Pentecostal background, her roots are in the Assembly of God, very similar to mine in the Church of God in Christ. In fact, the Church of God in Christ founder licensed Bishop Charles Harrison Mason licensed the first Assembly of God preachers. And so there's been a doctrinal relativity for many, many years, even though we have sort of deviated a little bit from some of that dogma, well, quite a lot of it. So she's a free spirit. She's singing jazz, and she's going to sing tonight. Did you write it? That's what I was saying. She didn't write it, but she's going to sing it. And she's accompanied by Jordan Hale, who was actually with her playing the bass when she was at All Souls, and Sean Al-Jabori. He's the guitarist, and that's acoustical, but it's electrical, so you're going to hear the music is just wonderful. Jason does an excellent job mixing all of it. So if you want to just close your eyes and meditate during this song, it's titled Spring Again. Or spring came back. Springtime again. In other words, spring back to your spring, because we didn't have much of one this year in Tulsa, but we're going to have one tonight. You're going to enjoy this. Just kind of meditate. Listen to the lyrics. Listen to her amazing voice. Listen to the instruments, and enjoy yourself as you go there. And you are there. So. Wow, that's some wonderful meditative music. Your voice is off the chain. See, when I first heard it, I thought I was listening to a young white Ella Fitzgerald. She was doing all that scatting. Interesting, the scatting is a result of Louis Armstrong forgetting the verse of a song that he was singing, and he just, now we call it, it's a popular music artifact almost that we could scat, but that's how he came, and now it's an artistic approach to music, and you did a great job with it. It's natural. All of you are wonderful. We'll have him back in a little bit. Great music, and you'll be able to know more about her. It's facebook.com, Sarah Maud Sings, M-A-U-D. It's on the screen, and you can hear a lot of her amazing music, and we're going to have some more before the program's over. Again, I made reference to my background as a Pentecostal, and that's the edge of fundamentalist Christianity that believes in transcendence, not just transformation, but transcending certain realities. Actually, it goes back from an African-American approach to the ancient spiritism or spiritualism of the African continent, because slaves came over here and they were in a situation over which they seemed to have no control, and the only way they could survive it was to transcend it, to somehow go beyond it, to penetrate the wall that was that reality and create another one. I still believe in the power of transcendence. That's why I call myself a Pentecostal. I still hold on to my Pentecostal roots, but I like the metaphysical approach to life, changing the physics or the physicality, changing the fleshly part of a reality and making it something different than it was, using the power of thought or the power of the mind, the power of the imagination, the image. I love what Wayne Dyer says. It's a new theme of my life. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. That doesn't mean that you don't respond responsibly to issues in your life that seem dissonant or out of kilter, out of cadence, into a decadence. You see it dying, but you don't react, you respond. Fear is a reaction. Faith is an action. You should always respond in faith rather than reacting in fear. There's a lot of things happening in our lives, in your life, in mine, in the world, in America, in our country, in our culture, that normal people would react to almost with violence. And that's not what we want to do. You heard me say earlier and I've said for years, that life is a doctor actually said that to me, life is a sexually transmitted dis-ease. That's what the English word disease is. It's really two words, dis-ease. It's a tension, there's a stress, there's an anxiety, there's a stretch that can be painful or pathological unless you understand how to manage that pain. None of us has been able to find a way to avoid it altogether. I'm not even sure that's ever supposed to be. Pain has its place. Locating the pain, and most of our pain is historical. That means it comes out of our past. You don't say, why am I hurting? But I say, where did the pain originate? All pain has an origin. And so sometimes we go back to the spot where the pain was first inflicted and reassess it. Even if it happened in childhood, you can go that far back in memory, you go back to where that initial pain took place and reassess it, reevaluate it, change how you perceive it, because you can't change the pain, but you can change your response and or, as I said earlier, reaction to it, to where we are. Pain is a part of living. It's a part of life. Managing the pain, developing coping mechanisms, and behavioral modifications are all a part of the therapy. That's how you attend to the pain. And so when we deal with Monday, and as many of you know, I was involved here for 40 years with Oral Roberts and the Oral Roberts University and the healing ministry and spirit, mind, and body education. I still have a lot of that in my spirit, in my soul, and my essence, and I'm doing it differently, but I'm doing it with the same energy and the same passion, helping people find relief and release, teaching people to relinquish or remind them that they have the power to let some things go. You have to go with the flow, but grow with the flow, even when the flow becomes a flood. Again, Come Sunday was the movie. Come Monday is the movement to a more progressive spirituality. Your spirit or non-physical part of your person or your personage, your personification, it's actually the seat of your emotions. Like your mind is the seat of reflective conscience. When you get out of the what we call our carnivorous, meat-eating, flesh, carnal nature, we transcend that to our translucent, transpondent, our transformed, transcendent reality. And all of us have one. Some people, and one of the reasons cannabis or pot and weed is becoming so popular in this country and even in this culture as a medicinal thing, it's also recreation or recreational. You're recreating something. I'm not saying that I'm sponsoring it or supporting it. I've never smoked pot or had anything like. Well, I did have a brownie one time when I was in L.A., but I've been brownie all my life. The brownie tasted pretty good. I didn't know whether it was the brownie or the Holy Ghost, or both of them working together. It was beautiful. But it was a sort of a transcendent experience. I've never felt I needed that drugs to go someplace else. I do it with my thinking. I do it with the frequency to which I tune. When I say frequency, I mean that which you think about most frequently becomes the frequency into which you are tuned. And sometimes, like in the old days when you had knobs on the radio, you had a lot of static. You had to just kind of tweak it till you get a clearer sound. We're all clairvoyant in the sense that in that sixth sense we have a clear voyeurism, a clear view. You can actually see clearly all the time, but you get fogged out because of images or imaginations or fantasies or sometimes other things that people say to you or that you hear, and that changes the color of your perspective. So you're constantly adjusting to your spirit self. Your spirit knows. Your spirit has no fear. Your spirit is completely disenchanted with anything that is not essential. Your spirit is not caught up and not choking on circumstances or residuals that are a result of fear-based mindsets, or what I call fear-based theologies. God logic, God talk, and God thought is another way to simplify a definition for theology. And I'll refer to it repeatedly because I've been studying theology all my life. So when you get into that non-physical part of your person, that is the seat of your emotions and your character, it's your soul expanded self. It's your essence. When I say essence, I mean your permanent rather than your accidental self. There's a permanent you that's always been and will always be. That's your infinite self. Infinite means without finish. It actually means without beginning, or at least you don't know where it began. It's like the sky. It's the ether or the etherness. I call it a higher dimensions. It's interesting that Jesus' prayer, what we call the Lord's Prayer, I started about this last week. I started talking about this scripture or this prayer. It's the prayer that Jesus taught his disciples. And one of the lines in it that is most intriguing to me is when he says, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." The part that's interesting to me most is as it is in heaven. Who knows what's happening in heaven except what we imagine might be happening there, because nobody's been there and come back to tell us definitively what it is. So we're imagining that heaven is a place when really it's probably more just a state of consciousness. It's a spaceless, faceless, timeless reality. In the farthest reaches and regions and rhythms of consciousness, there's a reality we like to call God. We think that heaven, or we're taught, it's the place of the abode of the gods, or God, or angels and spirits and that kind of a thing. A lot of that's fantasy, a lot of it's fairy tale, but we do deep inside of us believe in something other than what is, or what seems most immediate, most in front of us. That's what gives us the strength to continue through difficult times, because you know that wherever you are is not necessarily a period. It's a comma. We have to be careful how we even use exclamation points, because you could overemphasize something that needn't be. As they say, you make a mountain out of a molehill, or a molehill out of a mountain. Well, I like to pull the mountains down to molehills and something that's more manageable. Life is manageable. You can manage it. Thy will, that's both desire and design. There is a divine design, or life by design, or designation. You are designated to live by a certain assignment. Your assignment is part of your designation. You are designed for your assignment. Everything is a sign meant, or a signal, or a signature. You find the significance in that thing. Matthew says, Matthew, that's a person. I'm not talking about the scripture. Matthew says, I'm a 27-year-old man who was studying ministry but had an awakening and started following you. He means me. Thank you, son. I also started attending the local UU church in my town. But, he says, I'm nervous. I'm afraid. I'm confused. I've been there, Matthew. I'm not really sure what I believe anymore, he says. I believe in God, but not the God of the Bible. And I oftentimes find myself speaking in tongues. So he's from a Pentecostal background. Is this okay, he says. I don't know what to tell people when they ask me what I believe. Well, Matthew, try to distinguish, and this takes a little science, a little art, a little effort, to try to distinguish between what you believe, which is what you've been taught and told, to what you actually know, which is what you have experienced in your personal life, in your personal self, in your personal essence, what you have experienced beyond what somebody told you. I'm 65 years old, and I've just come to recognize the biggest conflict in my life for the last 15 years, and maybe longer, has been what my soul or my cell knows or remembers. It's as if my spirit has been reminding me of something I forgot. Now, I'm saying this somewhat by conjecture because I can't prove it, but in that other realm of my being, I feel like it's like I remember that I agreed to come to this plane of consciousness or planet, or this plan. I believe I agreed to come here but forgot about it. Sometime between the womb and the tomb, most people forget that they agreed to come here, and then they start feeling victimized. And we use religion and drugs or money or education, marriage, sex, anything we can to ease the pain and the tension of our amnesia. You panic when you forget where you are, who you are, why you are, where you're going, where you are, where you've come from. There's a lot of people that are experiencing post-traumatic syndrome, and because they have been traumatized, and that's the Greek word for wound. You've been wounded somewhere, and so the trauma revisits you like a nightmare. Beyond the nightmares, there are dreams. There are what I call deja vus. When you remember that you're okay, Matthew, you know in your spirit that you're okay, but you don't believe it. You know that you're secure, but because of what you've been taught and told, and I've been through the same thing, I don't believe it. I know I'm good. I know in one sense I'm God with a little g. I'm divine. I'm marvelous. I'm distinct. I'm special. But I don't always believe that because I don't feel it all the time. I know it in my soul. I know it in my cells. I know it in myself. I know it in my spirit. And I'm finally learning how to live by what I know more than what I've been taught to believe. Because a lot of what I've been taught to believe is inaccurate. It's imprecise. It's actually deception by deceived people. And I'm not saying that as a criticism. It's an observation. My parents and their parents and their parents, and I love these folks, the ground they walked on, but they were deceived. I was too. I still am in some ways. But I'm coming out of the deception into a different perception and a different conception of who I am and who I am not. And it's a process. We all go through it. Yes, I've spoken in tongues all my life. Part of it was a learned experience when you were in the Pentecostal culture. But the night I received what we call the baptism of the Holy Ghost and spoke in tongues, it wasn't something that I contrived. I didn't make it up. I was about 8 years old. And my best friend at that time, Tommy Calamy, who was a foster kid living behind us, had received what we call the baptism of the Holy Ghost, the manifestation of speaking in tongues. And he told me he did, and I could go through that whole experience because it was very real to me. Anybody can doubt your testimony. Anybody can doubt your faith or your religion, but no one can doubt your experience because it's yours. You own that experience. And when you own it, you honor it, whatever it was. And so don't try to move too quickly. Don't be ashamed of who you are or who you aren't. Take your time being you. Enjoy being you. Relax into it. Lean into it. Start loving yourself. You're probably like me, Matthew, though obviously you started earlier, to go from self-loathing to self-loving. I didn't know I was involved in self-loathing all that time. Standing in the pulpits of the world, preaching to as many as 250,000 people in a live stadium, and to millions by way of television and radio and writing. I must have written 25 books. I've recorded gospel albums and won awards. and nominated for others, at least 2 Stellar Awards. I had a good life. And I feel like I died and I'm resurrected to another consciousness. And I brought some of the stuff with me that worked. Speaking in tongues, like for some people, it's just in a yoga position and meditating. And going Om, or Amen, or I am, and you and me and others. I don't know if Sarah still does. She sings in tongues, or she does something that's otherworldly. But it's tongue she understands, but it's an energy, it's a spirit. And so whatever works for you is fine. You don't need to apologize for it. So enjoy being who you are, owning your truth, honoring your truth, and then letting it manifest in you however it does. Respect the process and embrace the mystery. It all works out ultimately for your best. Thanks for the question, Matthew. Now we're going to go to a little spot about our ComeMonday projects and process, what it means for you to become a part of the ComeMonday movement, to register to become a part of this wonderful expanded consciousness or way of thinking, and then we'll be right back with a song from Sarah and the band, or it's really 2 instruments that are going to sing, plus her voice as an instrument, and we'll come back to the teaching. You are there. Hello, everybody. I'm Carlton Pearson, and I am so excited about the beginning of ComeMonday.org. Come Sunday was the movie. Come Monday is the movement into broader enlightenment and life. And as a member of Come Monday, you'll receive 1 video each Monday for the entire year. That's 52 videos in total that you'll receive every Monday morning to get your week started out on a positive and powerful note. I will also be sending you one email each day, Monday through Friday, that will support the thought of the week. That's 260 emails throughout the entire year to inspire the genius inside of you. We will also provide a private Facebook group so that we can all come together in a safe environment and discuss personal, pertinent, powerful issues. You will also receive a digital monthly newsletter full of interesting updates and current events and exciting pictures. And I also want to offer you special VIP access to all of my events when I'm in a city near you, because I love to meet my people. And finally, we'll offer special pricing to cruises, concerts, and live events, all for standing with us and becoming a Come Monday member. So sign up now at the special introductory rate of just $3 a month. That's just $36 for everything for an entire year. I think I'm going to sign up for that myself. You're on your way to greater enlightenment. I want to meet you there in consciousness. So go to your phones and computers now. Sign up and meet me come Monday.
que compram flores em choro, pegando amor a brejo, vão falando sem saber que ela é forçada a enganar, vão vivendo pra dançar, nós dançando pra viver.
Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful.
Thank you.
And I was talking about her singing in tongues. She actually did sing in tongues. Was that French?
No, it's Portuguese.
That's what I was saying. It was Portuguese.
Portuguese, yeah.
Portuguese. Beautiful.
Thank you.
What did it mean? What was it?
Vida de bailarina?
Yeah.
Talking about a dancer.
Singing about a dancer? Well, your voice danced, but your voice sort of waltzed. It was almost a ballet and a waltz all together. Musicians were perfectly fitted around it. This is just wonderful.
Thank you.
Our plan is, and I talked to Henry today, he's in San Diego, in my hometown. He had to send pictures and just brag because he's out there on the water, which I love. In fact, he's staying near where I always stay, same hotel, and I can see the bay and the bridge, and so beautiful. But we've been talking about doing a collection of Come Monday, an actual Come Monday CD that'll have the artists that we have on the program on that CD and make it available to you. Wouldn't that be wonderful? I could listen to that. Your vibrato is so perfect, and your pitch is so perfect, and your voice is so rich. It's like drinking a really cool glass of water on a hot day. I just love it. And you're not overdone by the musicians. Just fit right in. They accent you, and in a very special way. These are very great artists, and she's right here in Tulsa. All three of them are. And we're going to have them back repeatedly. And we don't know what this is going to ultimately become, but it'll be very impacting, very powerful, and very important to the people who subscribe to it, because it's very life enhancing. And it doesn't always change, but it enhances who you are. That's what we're trying to do here. We want to tweak everybody. You came here from wherever we come, in some pre-incarnate reality. We came here. And I do not believe any longer that I came against my will. I know it sounds crazy when I say I chose my parents, I chose my siblings, I chose my place in the plan, even though there's so many awkward moments. If we're taught from childhood that we are here by agreement, that we've entered a contract, a soul contract, or a contract with ourselves or with our significance, we wouldn't be so victim conscious. We wouldn't be so resistant and so angry and so frustrated and feel like we have the short end of the stick. The older I get, the more I really believe that all things work in concert for a larger, grander, glorious, and maybe godly purpose. Notice Jesus said, "Thy will be done on earth." On is physically means to be physically in contact with and supported by a surface. Thy will be done. Thy designation or design or desire, and I think everything is by divine ordination, divine design and desire. When you are in tune with your purpose for being here, you recognize that you are designated, and a designation is the choosing and naming of someone to be the holder of an official position or an official purpose or a specific personification or personage or personality. You are here by design. You should live life by design or by designation, by assignment or a signature or an assignment. I'm pulling all that together to make it make more sense. Life hasn't always made a lot of sense to me. In fact, I accepted stupidity as part of it. I don't think that God or good or life needs to be stupid. I mean, numb to a reality that's beyond itself. I mean, that it can actually make sense, common sense. Doesn't have to be extraordinary sense, just common sense. It's not as hard as we make it. Sometimes our parents teach us to make it harder because their parents taught them to make it harder, and we create these realities and they become a literal manifestation in our lives. So I'm trying to give you back control of your life just by the power of suggestion. Yes, I want to suggest to you certain things. This is the Monday. Sunday, millions of people are in church. It's the sun, it's bright, you're with friends and fellowship and, some aspects of worship. But then on Monday, they used to call it Blue Monday because you got to go back to work, you got to get on the job, you got to fight the traffic, you're working for somebody or have people working with you that you don't like, or you work around folks. I mean, we somehow make it, dramatize it to be a lot worse than it is. So we want to be there for you when it seems like all the bright light is gone and it's sort of dim and dingy, even for some people dirty. It isn't unless you perceive it to be that way. So we want to help you perceive yourself and your life different. And again, I'm talking about what the prayer that Jesus taught his disciples. And I'm not trying to make this religious, but I do want to. Jesus wasn't a religious person. He was spiritual, and he was a revolutionist. He was a man who was, in my opinion, a metaphysician. He had a metaphysical approach to life. That's what got him in trouble with the traditionalists. It's gotten me in trouble with traditionalists. But he says, thy will be done on earth, on this flat surface, as it is in heaven. And the earth is arable land. It's terrestrial. It's a dry surface opposed to celestial, which is sort of like translucence, a spiritual transcendent reality. Heaven and earth. We're here. We live here. But and you've heard it said many times that we're not just human beings looking for spiritual experiences. We are spirit having an earthly encounter and meeting an earthly challenge. And we're looking through transparency and translucence and shining through to the spacelessness where there's no fissures and confusion. It's just air. When people talk about heaven, they're really not talking about a geographical place. They're talking about a spaceless consciousness. Same would be the case with hell. Everything is consciousness, and what you think about, you bring about. If you think about hell, you ultimately will experience it, whatever your concept of hell is. If you think about heaven, I don't know. Nobody knows what happens after this life, and we're not sure what happened before it. We can imagine things, and most of us try to imagine good. Somehow, millions like to imagine hell, which is hatred. Any God that would create hell would have to hate the victim if the person is going to be tormented infinitely, forever, for as long as God is. And those of you who believe that usually base it on some scripture. But also the same scripture says mercy endures forever. So how can mercy endure forever and torment endure? One would cancel out the other. And I think it's important for me to keep saying that, because if I could help you stop believing so profoundly in hell, you wouldn't experience it so profoundly and so repetitively. People are going through what they create in consciousness. So we have to change the way we're thinking. It's called the renewing or the redoing. Literally, the Greek translation would be the renovation of the mind. By the renewing of the mind. My mind, even as old as it is every day I go through a different renewal. It's like I'm 21 all over again, or 25 and I'm 65. But I feel younger, I feel brighter, I feel better, I feel lighter. I have more anticipation, and I was sort of thinking of going into retirement. I'm actually into refirement. I'm all fired up because I think that I can help you. And that sounds a little condescending, and I don't mean to do. I think I can support you and many people who want to experience a better aspect of themselves. That's what I mean. You can say you love somebody, but you're really saying you love the way you feel or experience yourself when you're with that body or that person. Or if you say, I don't like, or I can't stand so-and-so, you're saying, I can't stand how I experience myself. I don't like how I feel about me. So I keep reminding you that you have the power and you have the responsibility to create the reality that you want to manifest in your life with consistency. And it has to do with the power of thought. Somebody's imagination created this cell phone and this laptop, and I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Jason has set this studio up using cell phones for cameras. Now, this looks pretty good. I remember trying to help Oral Roberts raise $250,000 for one big old Cyclops, big old camera that moved around. And now they're coming up with these far less expensive, but the quality, the high definition, and we all want high definition. We want high resolution. We'd like to see more clearly. We'd like to see more definitively. The times when it seems most difficult is at night, when all we have is the moon. But there's a way you can even see clearer at night if you change your attitude about night, about darkness, about the obscurities. Don't let it or make it or create it as an enemy for you. It doesn't have to be an enemy, because there's always light, just enough for you to see enough. You should always tell yourself, and I have learned how to tell myself, I have just enough, always enough, and sometimes more than enough. But I always have enough, whether that's light, revelation, money, food, love. If I tell myself otherwise, that'll be my reality. So I'm talking to myself a lot. When I mean talking, I'm thinking, but I'm making those thoughts verbiage. And I'm chanting or enchanting myself with the repetition, like a chant. You repeat it over and over, the cantor in a synagogue, or the enchantment. We spell words, but words also spell us, as you've heard me say, or cast spells on us. We become enchanted by words and lyrics and symbols. And so our lives are infused with all of that. Earth, there's on, and then there's in heaven. And when I say heaven, I'm not talking about a geographical or even a physical place. I'm talking about a spaceless reality in the farthest reaches and rhythms and regions of consciousness. The highest reaches, the highest regions, the highest rhythms with the most intense vibrations and incantations and invitations and recitations. And you're reciting to yourself. You really, you're a bundle of energy. We all are. That's what our cells are. It's what our life is. We're constantly vibrating with sound and sight and feelings and emotions and energy in motion. That's what emotions really are or is. Energy in motions. And the faster that the energy spins, it creates matter or material things. That's why when you think, there's a scripture that says that as a man or woman thinketh in his or her heart, so is he or she. You become what you think about. What you think about, you bring about. So we're constantly helping you think differently and imagine differently and speak differently. Your Mondays can have the light that you bring to it. Your moon days, your monasticism, that sacred space and place in consciousness where you go and you focus in a broader way of looking at things. Not just the external, but the internal. Bridging it to the external, bridging your humanity to your divinity. Heaven on earth. Heaven is any place of existence outside the tangible world. Okay, I don't want you to think just about walls of jasper and streets of gold. That's sort of an imagination of a guy that had probably been smoking some pot or something. I don't know what John was on when he was on the Isle of Patmos, but he must have been taking some mushrooms or some cannabis or something, because he couldn't sleep. He was about 100 years old. He was cold. All his friends had been killed, including Jesus. He had to be a little bit frustrated. Now, that's my own assessment, because he saw 7-headed horses and stuff in the book of Revelation. He had to be a little high on something. So there's another reality beyond that doesn't have to be confusing. I don't think there's anything stupid again about or necessarily crazily grandiose or grandiose with a kind of grandiosity that doesn't make any sense. Because you are the deity. You are the divinity. You know that, and if anybody says otherwise, you tend to get upset with them. Your nostrils flare. You ready to cut somebody or cuss somebody where they make you feel less than you are, because you know deep in your heart that you're divine. You just don't believe it. And we're trying to get you to bridge what you know and what you believe, and that empowers you at a whole different level than you've ever experienced in your life. Very, very powerful, very, very special. So this otherworldly, even the word anothen or another, the scripture says, when Jesus is talking to Nicodemus and he says, you must be born again, I told you earlier, he uses the word anothen, the Greek word translated anothen, where we get the word another, ether or ether. is that in-between space, that aerial, translucent, transparent, transpowerful space and place in reality, in consciousness. It's not reciting a few words after some preacher in a revival with a nice, soft song being played. That sort of is the motto or slogan that gets you inducted into one of the world's most exclusive religious clubs. But it doesn't really, you're not born again until you have another experience of yourself that is awakened to the other broader, deeper, more expansive reality that you are. And your spiritual intelligence comes forth. Now, mind you, when you look around the studio, we got lights and cameras and amplification of sound, reverb. We have these little cell phones. And remember, I always remind you that the Apple products have a bite taken out of it. So somebody ate of the tree of the knowledge and good. Or the word knowledge actually means science. Conscience. Conscience means with knowledge. I'm really fascinated with what I know. Again, more than what I believe. A lot of people, they know what they believe, but they don't believe what they know. Marinate on that a little bit. Cogitate on that. Think about that. They know what they believe, but they don't believe what they know. Do you really believe what you know, or do you know what you believe? Most folk don't read the Bible as it is. They read the Bible as they are. And so many millions of people read it, and they make up these different assessments with it. So when I am inviting you to stretch yourself to the next level, to that heavenly place, that elevated, Arul said, high, lofty ascension of self and soul and mind, you can live there a lot. I enjoy the skies, even when they're cloudy. It started raining this afternoon. My daughter and I rushed to the windows just to see the rain falling out of the sky. In fact, it was raining right on our house, but just a little bit in the distance, there were no clouds. Just right over us and right over that part of the neighborhood, rain was just coming down, but just beyond it, you could actually see the sunlight. In fact, I heard thunder and I didn't see clouds. Where I was sitting in the house, it was stunning to me to look out the window and see all that sunlight and hear thunder. And then my majesty brought it and said, Daddy, it's raining. And I saw the moisture and I saw the sunlight. I saw the cloudless sky and the clouds in the sky. And they're all working together for good. And I accepted all of it. It was beautiful. It was a very ethereal, almost transcendent moment for me to see something different than I was believing. I was believing that it shouldn't have been thundering. I was believing that it shouldn't be raining because the conditions didn't seem right or ripe for that. But I'm at the place right now where I'm positioning myself to expect the unexpected, the predictably unpredictables, and the unpredictable predictables. There are things that are going to happen and that are happening that we don't fully understand yet and we don't fully anticipate. So stay open. I think your life is about to take on a whole different energy. I think everything that's happening in your life right now, please hear me when I say this, the folks you're hanging out with or the new people that are coming into your life, some people are leaving your life, situations are changing and it's happening so fast you can't keep up with it because you're positioning yourself based on your consciousness. You're bringing things into your life and you're expelling things from your life. And you're not always doing it consciously or awareingly. You're doing it, some of it automatically, and some of it you're doing intentionally. And when you recognize that you are a functioning powerhouse, that you are a functioning power source and force, and that you are commanding things around you to take place, you are really in a whole new strain and a whole new vein, and it is powerful. We're just about finished. I could go on forever. I wish I could hear more of your questions. And eventually, we're going to have seminars and webinars where we can sit in rooms like this, sometimes with a live audience, entertain live questions. We'll keep having the music. We're expanding. We're going to be doing the cruises. Yes, we're going to do those cruises. And we're going to go to special places around the planet and around the earth. We'll be all right on this planet. We're going to fix some things up in consciousness that help affect the collective consciousness of the planet. And we're going to not just make a difference in the world, but help make the world different. Wouldn't you like that? We're cultural creatives. We're spiritual progressives. We're sacred activists. And we are alive. Here's a spot about our Come Monday movement, and you're registering to be a part of it. Then we'll come back and close the program out, I hope with some music. I don't know if we... Okay, we're going to close the program out with this wonderful trio of instruments and the vocal instrument tonight that I know will bless you. Be right back. Hello, everybody. I'm Carlton Pearson, and I am so excited about the beginning of ComeMonday.org. Come Sunday was the movie. Come Monday is the movement into broader enlightenment and life. And as a member of Come Monday, you'll receive one video each Monday for the entire year. That's 52 videos in total that you'll receive every Monday morning to get your week started out on a positive and powerful note. I will also be sending you one each day, Monday through Friday, that will support the thought of the week. That's 260 emails throughout the entire year to inspire the genius inside of you. We will also provide a private Facebook group so that we can all come together in a safe environment and discuss personal, pertinent, powerful issues. You will also receive a digital monthly newsletter full of interesting updates and current events and exciting pictures. And I also want to offer you special VIP access to all of my events when I'm in a city near you, because I love to meet my peoples. And finally, we'll offer special pricing to cruises, concerts, and live events, all for standing with us and becoming a Come Monday member. So sign up now at the special introductory rate of just $3 a month. That's just $36 for everything for an entire year. I think I'm going to sign up for that myself. You're on your way to greater enlightenment. I want to meet you there in consciousness. So go to your phones and computers now. Sign up and meet me come Monday.
When I was just a little girl, I asked my mother, what will I be? Will I be pretty? Will I be rich? Here's what she said to me. Que sera, sera. To see, no. Que sera, que sera, que sera. When I have children of my own, they'll ask their mother, what will I be? Will I be handsome? Will I be rich? I tell them faithfully, que sera, sera. to see, no. Que sera, que sera, que sera.
Sarah, Jordan, Sean, what can I say? This is just wonderful. Thank y'all so much. Come again. They came. They didn't ask for nothing, and we ain't give them nothing. But we're so glad they came. No, I'm kidding. This is raw, rare talent. And one of these days, when they're getting their Grammys, I'm gonna be out there waving at them all. Next week, we will begin our Facebook special, exclusive, if you will, Facebook page just for us who are registered. We'll have some very intimate conversations and talk, a lot of news, pictures, things that you're going to love. There's a newsletter coming, but the Facebook will actually officially be kicked in this week. So stay tuned, watch carefully, listen carefully. Thanks for being a part of Come Monday, and we'll see you again next time. Peace and blessing to all of you. God bless you. God be you. Good night.